Hello there. We're in Germany today. Little tiny place called Frickenhausen am Main. The Main is a river, a big river, running all the way through Germany. Frickenhausen is southeast of Frankfurt by a good hour's drive. And this is a really charming little town, kind of medieval in its roots, with a sort of original medieval wall around it, and 3, I think, gate houses, which are always worth checking out. In the old German towns, they have a lot of character, these little kind of fortified gatehouses. This one even has the marks of flooding, can you believe? All these are years and levels of floods, including all the way up there, 1845, when the flood was so high. It was higher than the entrance to the gatehouse, so that must have decimated the whole place. That's one of the risks, I suppose, of having a little village beside a big river. Anyway, I was in this town for a very short stay, in the need for some refreshments, and this building here is the Altstadthaus. That's the old town hall, and there's a little cafe there you can just see, and a cafe means a chair and a chair means a drawing. So while having a particularly nice glass of Bacchus, a type of wine I'm not particularly familiar with, and I enjoyed, a very sort of simple thing, that was the view, and I thought it would be worth recording and showing the truth of this kind of drawing, a drawing which is more to do with you enjoying the company and the place you're sitting at and the food you're about to eat, and it's a sketch that kind of feels relaxed because of that. It's not a big formal sketch, it's not a sketch you do to show off your ability, it's a sketch you do to relax. Now, in order to speed the process of the drawing, I'm using an interesting technique. So I'm using guidelines, but I'm not using pencil guidelines. I'm using acrylic paint pens of a similar color to the paper itself. So this gives you a sort of outline structure. Now, you have to be confident enough to be able to know kind of where you want those lines to be. But because they're so faint, if you feel as if they need changing, they're easy to change. So it's a way of saying, I'm starting the drawing with a confidence, I'm not being hesitant and trying to sort of work it out with a pencil, I'm going straight in there with a colour, because the colour is so pale. If you are wrong, you can correct it. One of the benefits of this process, it does breed a sort of confident response. So often you're right, or at least you're right enough, you're right enough for the drawing. You rarely find yourself having to correct yourself, which is quite fun. Whereas with a pencil, you're always kind of thinking, oh, should that be a little bit 5 millimeters to the left or 5 minutes to the right. So there's that sense of, I think, using a pencil to create construction lines can itself breed a sort of, a complacency, a sense that you're probably going to get it wrong anyway. That's why you're using the pencil. So anyway, if you don't use the pencil, it's quicker to do it like this. Now I'm using a mop brush, which is, again, quite an unusual method. It's more of an artistic tool. It's a really fun brush. When I'm going on a travelling trip like this, I'll probably take 2 brushes with me. It'll be the mop brush, and it'll be what's called an angled shader, which you can see off to the side there on the right. It's kind of a flat brush that has an angle to it. Now, the benefit of the mop brush is it's so relaxed in itself. If you ever get a chance to see the wet mop brush, it's kind of curled like the end of a wet cat's tail. It has this really sort of what looks like an imprecise, relaxed kind of heaviness to it. But it actually has a really precise point, and it can hold a huge amount of water, which with watercolour means a huge amount of colour. So the benefit of that is you can kind of load up the brush with lots of colour and sort of make your marks. Now, for me, this is always sketching because they're always linear. Always lines. I'm not kind of using the brush like you would be painting a wall when I'm trying to kind of put on a huge amount of colour. I'm basically making the same kind of marks that I would use if I was using a paint pen. So for me, it kind of has a similar trigger. Here you see I've used the mop brush to do kind of these really washy kind of broad strokes of colour, and now I'm using the angled shader, which is a really good brush to have. This is a Pro Art, I think it's a number 8, can't remember now, and it's an incredibly accurate precision marker when you want it to be, and then when you turn it on its side, you can do these really nice instant kind of blocks of colour which are very sharp edged. So it's perfect for doing things that are architectural in nature. For example, the window panes you see. If I was doing cobbles, for example, this would be the brush I'd reach for, because of the way you spin the brush round and face in different directions. You can get incredibly fine. You can get strong sort of linear lines. You can get big blocky lines just by spinning the brush around. It's a really kind of go-to brush. I never carry a lot of brushes with me. I might carry 3, and you see these people with these sets of 20 brushes, and it would overwhelm me to have so many choices. I like to be able to sort of basically choose between a big laydown of gentle colour or very precise intense colour. And that's what these 2 brushes would always give me. Now, here's a fun fact. This building, when you look it up on Wikipedia, built in 1480, which means pre-Columbus arriving in the Americas. For me, that's always a line in history where you say there is everything before 1492 and there's everything after it. And especially in architectural terms, when they built this building, they didn't know about the Americas, and within 15 years they did. It's just something. It's just something that always makes me kind of go, yeah, here's a moment in time. Now, when you're having a glass of wine, as I am here, you get into, as that's silly, isn't it? But you get into the drawing in a different kind of way. I'm not suggesting the alcohol has an effect, of course, but I'm suggesting that the fact you're relaxing, and you do literally sort of sit back in your chair and your hand relaxes, and the kind of marks you make, I hope anyway, come across in a more sort of informal way, a more kind of chilled out kind of way. And that's because of what's going on in your head. You're relaxing in your head, and that helps the hand to relax, it helps the head to relax. It stops that kind of pickiness, it stops you being overly precise. Look at me now, I'm just writing the name of this little restaurant wine bar place, and I'm literally writing it as if I was signing my name, just kind of bam 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 bam. I'm not looking at the letters and kind of trying to be obsessive and think, oh my god, that's italic, and what's the shape of that B. I'm just laying it in a very kind of sketchy way, as is appropriate for an urban sketch. So I find that an interesting thing. I mean, there are as many different styles of urban sketch as there are people. And I think it's really interesting for us as individuals to explore as many different styles as possible. And even, literally from drawing to drawing, from day to day, to literally say today, I will do this drawing differently from the way I drew the day before. Because I think that's where excitement is, that's where freshness is, that's where the holiday spirit is, that's when exploring something new comes from. Now, there are plenty of urban sketchers who have a really strong style, and everything they do will be in that same style. But I think that only, for me anyway, I would only want to do that if I was doing it commercially. Meaning, if I was doing it for, because I was expected to do that by the people who wanted the drawings from me. If I was selling them, if I was teaching, then I would be wanting to kind of maintain a fixed stylistic position that others could sort of understand that was my look, my style. And that's not what I do. So I don't have to be fixed, and therefore I can experiment. Now, as long as you accept that in experimentation there will be things that you like more and things that you like less, then that's great. And as far as I'm concerned, as soon as you accept experimentation, you relax, because maybe this isn't going to be the best drawing, maybe it's the next one, maybe it's the one after. You're not questioning something which is fixed about yourself. You're not questioning your standard style, You're just always looking to sort of experiment, to explore, try new things. I mean, I've mentioned before, but on this trip, I brought a few pens I've never used before. Like this pen here is the Sharpie, which is a big brand, of course, but I've never had them before, and I've only bought white. I just wanted to take one of these pens and just see how it behaved. I actually took 3 or 4 white brush pens just as a way of, I'll test them while I'm away. And for most people that would seem kind of unnecessary, because there would be some kind of inherent risk with that. Maybe one of these pens I didn't like sort of instantly, and therefore, why am I carrying it around with me? And yeah, you're right, that is a risk. For most people, having a sort of predictable set of reliable tools is reassuring and important, and that's good too. And I also have, certain things which I take wherever I go. I just like to mix it up. I like to bring in a bit of freshness, because I I think it helps my sense of freshness. It helps my head, that to not feel as if I'm doing a job. I think that's my biggest fear in drawing life. It's that sense that the drawing becomes a burden. I feel as if I'm doing the drawing for somebody else. I'm not doing the drawing for myself. Now, that hasn't happened. In all my years, it's never happened. But I fear it. I fear that sense that I become dull. Here's the drawing at the end of the day and looking fun. It's very relaxed. It's very loose. It's an ideal kind of holiday sketch, if you can think of it in those terms, that I think gets you going and gets you relaxed, gets you happy, and it doesn't take too much time. And I hope you've enjoyed it. And if you've watched it through to the end, thank you very much. And I will see you next time. Why not the next time you go to a wine bar, have a little sketch.